out into the atrium and speak with our other partner schools that are here tonight. We have Lawrence University, we have Owens Community College, we have the University of Toledo. Bowling Green was not able to be with us tonight, but they did send information. You may have picked up some of that out there. But feel free to talk to any of our college representatives while they're here tonight if you have further questions specific to their institution. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Ann.
Good evening. My name is Ann Bowler from Northwest State. I've got the east side. I'm kind of a walker, so I may just kind of go back and forth if that's okay. So I'm going to present information about College Credit Plus. Wonderful program. We have a lot of students, even from Northwest State. We have about 1,000 students that are taking classes with us right now. Very popular program throughout the whole state. But you do need to know kind of the ins and outs of the program, so that's what I'm going to explain for you tonight. So what is College Credit Plus? College Credit Plus is Ohio's dual enrollment program for students 7th through 12th grade. You must be an Ohio resident and attending an Ohio secondary school or receiving homeschool instruction. Students can earn high school and college credit at the same time and enrolling in college courses and adhering to college policies, and students can apply to enroll in multiple schools. We do have some students that are actually taking classes at Owens and at Northwest State at the same time. What are the program benefits? Why would someone want to take College Credit Plus? One is to get a jump on post-high school, take a couple classes that are paid for from the state. Your school pays for them for you. Get maybe your English is done, maybe a couple math courses done before you decide to go on to a four-year school to save a little money on that part and kind of get ahead a little bit of the game. I have students take college classes for many different reasons. I have some students that want to actually get their associate's degree by the time they graduate from high school, so they start at a young age, maybe freshmen, and they'll start taking classes, and actually we have a handful that are going to be graduating this coming spring of 2024 with their high school diploma and their associate's degree at the same time. I also have students that want to maybe take, they maybe not want to take a math class at their high school, but they might want to take it to the college. So if they take that class at the college, it'll take the place of your high school math class, examples like that. Those are the type of things you need to check with your high school counselor to make sure that the class that you're going to take at your college that you're going to enroll in or apply to, that's actually going to transfer over. We as advisors don't handle that part of it. That part of your graduation requirements have to go to the high school and your school counselor, so you can make stay close contact with them for that. We also have students, I have students that will use College Credit Plus as an exploring tool. I have students, maybe 10th grade, that say, I want to be a teacher. So we encourage them to take an intro to teaching class and see what they think. Some of them may come away and go, oh, there's no way I'm ever doing that. I definitely want to be a teacher now. And sometimes it's the opposite, and they're like, oh my gosh, that's what I want to do. It kind of gets them more motivated, kind of starts them on the path, and then we can start telling them what are the classes they should start taking, what are the schools they can start talking to too if they want to transfer to a four-year degree. So there's many different ways to use College Credit Plus. It kind of gets another advantage is kind of getting the student used to taking college courses and being on campus. If you're on campus and taking courses, a good way to kind of get the feel of what it's like to be a little bit older and taking college courses and what it's going to be like when you actually graduate from high school and start that college experience. And you can also save on tuition and books. Students can save on the cost of tuition, and there's no cost for public school students to pay for their books. Will the credits transfer? Most credits taken through CCP will transfer to Ohio Public College or university. We do tell the students at Northwest State, the ones that I work with, that if you are going to take classes with a college, say Northwest State, and you think at some point you're going to transfer to UT, it's a really good idea to start to have a conversation with that four-year school of exactly what's going to transfer and how it's going to transfer over to a school. You may take a math class with us thinking that it's going to transfer to, I'll give you an example for Ohio State. And Ohio State may accept it as a transfer, but they may not accept it as a college algebra. They may accept it as an elective. They may want you to take their college algebra class at their college. So it's very important as your student starts to go along the process of taking College Credit Plus classes that if they think they're going to go to a four-year school or someplace other than where they're first starting out, that they start to have a conversation with the admissions department on college ready? I get this question a lot, especially since the first screen I showed said that you can take classes when you start in 7th grade, 7th through 12th grade. You may have a student that's getting straight A's, whether they're 7th grade all the way to 12th grade, and think that that's why they should be taking college classes, because they're A students. And I can tell you from a lot of experience and many years of doing this, that there's more to it than what kind of grades your students are getting in high school right now. It's an emotional and social transition. College courses have mature content in them. Most of the colleges, or all the colleges, are state mandated now to include that information with their application, that at some point the students and the parents have to know and sign off on the fact that you know that your student may be A, reading something that's mature, and maybe over their head, or maybe a little bit more mature than you'd like them to at that age, or possibly take an art class where maybe they're, painting or drawing someone of a nude, person to be posing for them. And those classes are not going to change because your student is a 7th grader all the way up to 12th grade. If you're putting your student in the position of being a college student, then you have to accept the fact that the classes are going to be taught all the way through, and those aren't going to be changed because your student might be a little bit younger. I was looking at the second one. Think about CCP courses online and the college campus. If you're coming to campus and taking a class, sometimes we'll have students, like for us, that might take an industrial class. Say they're 16 years old and they want to take a welding class in the evening. And that's great. You can come and do that, but you also have to be prepared to know that sometimes a 16-year-old in the evening taking a class could also be taking a class with a 45 or 50-year-old. That's just something that you need to think about. Might not be a problem. The students might just get along great. We haven't had any problems in Northwest State, but it's just something that you just need to think about. And being college ready, like I said, is more than academic preparation. If you're constantly reminding your student that they have to get your homework done, to get your paperwork done, are you ready for the test, are you doing that? If you're constantly reminding them at a high school or junior high level to do these things, they might not be quite ready to take a college class. And that's just some of the things that you need to think about as you're going through the process of thinking about this. Student participation, option A and option B. So option B is how most students will take a College Credit Plus class, which means you'll take a class, it'll be paid for by the high school, your books will be paid for, and you won't have any cost. Option A comes into play, and we'll talk about this a little bit more. In fact, I'm going to switch the screen over. Option A comes into place if your student is taking a lot of College Credit Plus courses. Say they're taking maybe 30 credit hours over the academic year, and they get past that 30 credit hours, so we'll talk about this a little bit later. At that point, the high school will not pay for those courses anymore, and you have to self-pay for the course. So you have to let this high school know if you're going to self-pay for a college course, you have to let them know within the first 14 days of when you're taking a class of whether you want to take that class as a college class only, or if you want to take it as a college class and have it included in your high school GPA. Because option B, when you take the class as option B, your student is going to earn high school credit and college credit. So if they get a C, if you have an A student and they're getting all A's and you're taking a Comp 1 course and they get a C in that course, that C is going to go over as a C to their high school transcript. So it's going to affect their high school GPA, and then they'll have their college GPA also. And then how many classes can a student take? So students can be enrolled to up to 30 credit hours per academic year. This includes the high school courses also. So how we try to describe it is, say your student is taking 3 classes as one. Each class is 1 credit hour. The state multiplies that by 3, so that would be 9 credits. We subtract that from the 30 credit hours that they can take over that academic year, and you'd be allowed to take, your student would be allowed to take 21 credit hours worth of classes for that academic year. And an academic year, for everyone who's here tonight, we're starting at the academic year being summer of 24, fall of 2024, and spring of 2025. So you can only take 30 credit hours within that, between high school credits and college credits during that time. If you go over that 30 credit hours, or you're thinking about going over that 30 credit hours, that's usually when the council will have a discussion with you and say, okay, you're over those 30 credit hours, do you want to pay for that class, or do you want to drop that class at that point? And then you'll start to have that conversation, and have a conversation with your college credit plus advisor at the same time. And the maximum number of credits allowed for a student, or the whole time that a student can take college credit plus classes while they're in high school, is 120. can you take your classes? So we're talking about, like I said, the summer of 24, fall of 24, and spring of 25. So summer, fall, and spring. And you can take your classes at the college campus that you apply for. You can take it online, your classes online if you don't want to go to campus. And you can also take it at your high school if your high school offers in-house classes. And Swanton does offer in-house classes. I know Northwest State has a Comp 1, you're like your first college English course that they're offering here. Which is, if you have a high school that's offering in-house classes, I would recommend trying to take advantage of those courses. They don't have to leave campus. They're being taught by an instructor that's either credentialed from the college that they're teaching from. Like if UT's teaching a class here, they credentialed your high school teacher to teach that class. Northwest State is credentialed Jeff to teach Comp 1 here. And they don't have to leave the high school. They're right here. They have their instructor. It's a little bit sometimes maybe less nerve-wracking than going to campus or taking a class online. So if you have that opportunity and the high school is giving that benefit to you, I would take advantage of it if you could. So participation, how do you start? The first thing you're going to do, what Bethany was talking about, is completing your intent to participate with the high school. That's the first thing that has to be done. That's all through the high school. It has to be in by April 1st, so you have to follow their deadline. So you're going to, if you're even thinking about the program, you need to get that in. Then you're going to apply at whatever school that you're interested in. And I will back up just a second about the letter of intent. If you think you're interested in this program at all, you need to get that done. If you get it to April 2nd or 3rd, Bethany is going to tell you that you can't even think about being in the program. And that takes care of summer, fall, and spring. So I always suggest that people go through those motions, go through everything. Get your letter of intent in, apply at your college. You become eligible then. You go through the process of seeing if you're eligible, if you qualify to take College Credit Plus classes. Complete all the processes that your college needs you to complete. If something happens along that way, you decide that all of a sudden that maybe your student's not ready, or you're not ready to have your student in college classes, you can always back that off. But if you don't hit the deadline with the school, and you don't hit the deadline to the colleges, you're going to miss out. You can't really go backwards. So I always tell people, go through the whole process. If you change your mind in August, or sign up for a class that you change your mind, you change your mind. That's fine. We want the student to be ready, and we want you to be ready to take a step. So how do you become eligible to take College Credit Plus courses? There are 3 different ways. You can complete an assessment test. We use the AccuPlacer at Northwest State, and a lot of colleges in the area use the AccuPlacer test. We can use ACT scores, and we can use SAT scores to tell you whether your student qualifies for the College Credit Plus program. If you have a 3.0 or higher cumulative high school GPA, not middle school GPA, but a high school GPA, that qualifies you to take College Credit Plus courses. Or the last one is if you have a 2.75 to 2.55 cumulative GPA and an A or B in a relevant high school course, then you can take College Credit Plus courses. For Northwest State, we want you to have an A or B in English and an A or B in a math before you can be eligible for the program. Now this makes you eligible for the program. Then what happens, you're eligible for the program, and then each college can determine, do we need something else from you if say for example, you want to take an English course. So I'll just use us for an example. If you have a 3.0 or higher grade point average, I can tell you many classes that you can take at Northwest State without testing or anything else. But if you want to take a Comp 1 course, I'm going to need ACT scores, or I'm going to need the student to take the AccuPlacer test and receive certain scores on it to be college ready, be teen college ready. A lot of colleges will do this because they expect that from all the traditional students too. So they keep it all the way straight through from high school students all the way to the traditional students. So you have to check with your colleges to see, you may be eligible for the program, but are you eligible for a math class? Are you eligible for a science class? Are you eligible for an English class? And they'll tell you what you need to be eligible for those. So course placement. So for the first 15 credit hours for College Credit Plus, a student has to take level 1 courses. And those courses there's many. Each college has a list of their level 1 courses. It's everything from business classes to industrial classes to science classes to math classes. There's a whole array of courses for the first 15 credit hours. And usually each class, college class is usually a 3 to 4 credit hour class. So maybe for the first 4 or 5 classes, you need to take these level 1 courses. Once you're done with the level 1 courses, then you can start taking any course out of the college catalog that you would like to at that point. There are some non-allowable courses. Some courses you cannot take as a College Credit Plus student. The private applied courses with one-on-one instruction. So if you want to take a music class, like a singing class, and have a one-on-one instruction, they won't allow you to do that. Courses with high fees. We used to have a horse riding class, and the fees were, oh my gosh, it was unbelievable. So they kind of cut those off too at some point. You can't use study abroad courses. Physical education classes cannot count. Pass or fail graded classes, and I'll explain that one in just a second too, and the remedial courses, and also religious courses. Now you can take a world religion course, you just can't take a course that's more specific in the religious part. So let's talk about your remedial courses and pass and fail courses. Your remedial courses, a lot of students will maybe test in the AccuPlacer. They might not be quite ready. They did not score high enough to take Comp 1. They retest again, which we allow them to test and retest once every academic year. They still didn't get it, and then the parent will say, well, can't they take, the English class before the actual Comp 1, like the developmental courses we call them. And the state doesn't allow that because they want the students to be college ready when they start those CCP classes. And they want you to get your remedial coursework done at the high school level. And it wouldn't be any different if you were a traditional student and you came in and you hadn't gone to school for like 5 years, and those classes need to be saved for those developmental courses need to be saved for those type of students who haven't gone in a long time and now are starting out and maybe need that help before they start to take that college ready course. Getting college credit. So to actually get the college credit for the courses, the student has to successfully complete the course that they take in order to earn that college credit for the course. If a student fails or withdraws from a course, the college and high school transcript will reflect the student's final grade. The high school transcript and the college transcript will reflect the same grade, no matter how they took the class, whether they took it at the high school, whether they took it at campus, or whether they took it online. So if your student gets an F on that course, and you think, well, we just won't tell someone that they got an F on the course, we'll just kind of hide it. It's not going to be hidden. That F is going to go on the high school transcript. That F is going to stay on whatever college you went to. And when you want to use that, if you need to have a college transcript set to from whatever college you took the class from, that class is going to be on there. So no matter how well you do, that's why you just want to try to do your very best because you want those grades to go through seamlessly. And the same thing, CCD courses can satisfy high school requirements. We talked about that a little bit ago. Students should work with their counselors to make sure that they're meeting graduation requirements. You have to make sure, we work very, very closely, the CCD advisors do from all the colleges, with the school counselors. It's a neat relationship, but it's a relationship that we respect, and we respect it a lot. And so we may have to make sure, a lot of times I'll say, did you check with your school counselor first? Did you make sure that that's going to fulfill your requirements? We're always asking that, and that's the one thing you need to do. If your high school weights your courses, for weighting, you do weighting, okay. So a 4.0, 4.2 is an A for Swanton. If you get an A in the class at whatever college you're going to, it's going to come over as a 4.2 and be put into your GPA the same way. Selective service. This is something we seem to have a few issues with every year, so we want to make sure we touch on this. Male students who are at least 18 years of age and are Ohio residents are required to be registered with the selective service system. This is a federal law, federal regulation. Students are required to provide their selective service number to the public college and university within 30 days of their 18th birthday. So it's usually seniors that if we have any, we go through this process with. If you fail to submit the selective service number to your college, they can charge you for full tuition, textbooks, and fees for the class that you're taking. So normally, I'm not sure what UT and Owens and everybody does, but for Northwest State, the registrar's office will go through, they pull reports, they send out letters to all the students, the male students, and to let them know that they, your birthday's coming close, you need to get onto the selective service website, and then the college will give you all the information on what you have to do. It literally will take you maybe 7 or 8 minutes to do it. And then they'll tell you what to do once you get that number and how But it's very important to do that. And if you don't do it, the registrar's office will keep hunting you down until you do it. And if you don't do it, they will actually send you a bill for the whole kit and caboodle of tuition and everything, and you'll have to pay that. So it's just easier just to get it done. And if you have any questions of, should I do it, do I have to do it, am I required to do it, I would get on the Selective Service website, the government website, and they'll answer all of those questions. They have like an FAQ section, and they're really good about answering all the different questions that you might have about this process. But it's very important that you get that done. Academic honesty. We've had a couple issues the last couple years with some honesty issues with College Credit Plus students. I'm not really sure if it's because they've been able to get away with it in high school a little bit, and they think, okay, if I got away with it in high school, maybe cheating on a couple things, or maybe plagiarizing, using someone else's thoughts or ideas on a paper, then I can definitely do it at college. Wrong. If you think you can get by with it in high school and you think you can sneak it through with college, I'm telling you it's not going to happen. There's so many ways for us to check to see whether you're using ChatGPT, whether you're using AI. Those are a little trickier, but there's many ways that the teachers can run your paperwork through. And if something's not matching up, or if it looks like it's coming from a different source, then they will call you out on that. And you can actually get dismissed from college if you're caught doing that too many times. Once you're on a warning, and then there's a process. So do your homework, do your homework, okay? Be honest about what you're putting forth. If you have questions, that's what your instructors are there for. Does this look right? Is this something I should be doing? Does this look, maybe this isn't quite right. I use some ideas for this and this. They'll tell you what to do to make sure that you're doing it honestly. That's why you reach out to your instructor for help. They will help you through that process. There's no reason for you to have to use anything other than your own work to get through your college courses. So underperformance. Okay, your student's doing well, everything's doing great, and then we have a semester where, maybe something's not going so well. And this really does not happen a huge amount. We've been very lucky. We have a really good group that seems to, kind of go through this process. Everybody does pretty well. But every once in a while we have an issue with underperformance. So what happens if your student does not pass a course, or if they withdraw past the deadline? So every school, like for us, college courses started on August 23rd. 14 days after August 23rd, you are allowed within that 14 days to drop a course without having to pay for it, without any kind of penalty. Now I will say, when you're getting ready to do this, you start to have a conversation of, oh my gosh, I don't think I can do this. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to talk to your counselors. Because if you drop a course after you already signed up for it, then the high school is going to have to figure out a way to help you recover, and then you have to take another course, to get that credit. So that's where that communication comes in again. So you definitely want to make sure, you're talking to them, there's paperwork that needs to be done if you're going to drop a course. So all that process, you have to go through all that process. If you wait until after that 14 days and you decide you're going to withdraw from the class, then you're going to get a W on your transcript. So W will show. It won't count towards your college GPA, and it won't affect your high school GPA. But the W is going to show on your transcript until a time comes where you retake that class. If you wait until after that deadline for the W, and you decide you want to withdraw from it, or you fail from it, then the high school can charge you for that class, because they've already paid for that class for your student. They cover that whole cost. And if your student is now all of a sudden getting an F in the class, and you have to either completely withdraw from it or get out of it, or you fail it, then the high school can charge you for the tuition of the class, and also for the book. And of course, the grades that you earn are going to be in your high school transcript permanently. And if something happens, let's say I have a student this semester that's taking Comp 1 and they fail. They fail at the end of the year, in December I find out they fail. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put them on probation. Because if you have to have at least a 2.0 or higher GPA, cumulative GPA, to be able to continue taking College Credit Plus courses. So I find out that the student has failed the class, but he thinks he's going to be great. He thinks he's really going to pull it together, and he wants to take the class for the spring semester. He'll be allowed to take one course. It can't be the course that he failed in. It has to be a different course. And he has 1 semester to pull that grade point average back up to a 2.0 or higher. If something happens, he doesn't pull it up within that next semester, then he's put on CCP dismissal. So again, when they're dismissed from the program, then they can appeal to the high school at some point to see if they can maybe take another college course. That would be another conversation that we would have to have with the high school counselor. We would have to decide too whether we want to allow that student. The college would have to decide too if they want to allow that student back in again. There would have to be a huge conversation about what you're going to do to improve so that doesn't happen again. The program probation is determined by the high school. If I were to call Bethany and say, Charlie got an F on his fall semester class, she's going to have to look and see if maybe Charlie is taking a class at UT. And if they're taking a class at UT and they're getting an A, then you take that cumulative GPA, he'd have a 2.0 or higher, he'd be okay to go ahead and continue taking classes. So we have to always check with the high school to see, are they taking classes somewhere else? Is it just us that they're taking classes with, and that determines the probationary period. And we also talked about the appeal process, how that works. That all goes through the high school. The high school has to determine, since they're paying for those classes, whether they're going to allow the student to take another class or not. College difference. This is super important. So what's the difference between taking high school classes and college classes? So the first part for our students are in a structured environment with minimal outside work. Your student may come home and say, I don't have any homework tonight. I don't have anything to do. You sure you don't have anything? Nope, I'm fine. Don't have anything. I'm all done. For college, students have to manage their own time with significant outside work. There's going to be a lot of homework. A lot of homework. Because it's college. So there should be a lot of homework. So that's one difference. The next one, parents and guardians and teachers are strong advocates. Your parents and guardians work closely with your student. In high school, you know everything the student's taking, you know what the grades are getting, all those type of things. In college, the students are seen as independent decision makers with outside mentors. So their outside mentors might be the people they're taking classes with. It could be their professors. They're going to be talking to a lot of people, and you may not always be in the know about exactly what's going on at the college level. And I'm going to go back to that in just a second. For high school, the grades are a combination of numerous homework assignments, quizzes, tests, maybe even attendance. They'll take attendance. And that's how you're getting extra credit, all those different things that high schools allow. That's how you're getting your grades. Grades at the college level are mostly kind of few and far between. You don't always get a huge amount of tests. You may have 2 or 3 tests the whole semester. And that's what that's based on. They usually don't count on attendance. And they don't usually get a lot of extra credit. It just depends on the student, on the instructor or professor. Your homework, we talked about 1 to 3 hours of homework per day, depending on the courses taken. And they say that you're supposed to, if you have a 2 to 3 hour, for every 3 credit hour class, you could have 3 to 5 hours per week of homework for that class. So you have to expect it. It doesn't mean it's always going to be like that, but you just need to know that it's going to be a lot more. So if there are students involved in extracurricular activities, they're working, maybe working part-time on weekends, maybe get a lot of hours on weekends, you have to find time to get that homework done. Okay, so it does affect your courses. Before I go to this slide, I want to go back just a little bit. So the difference between college and high school. If you think your student is ready to take college classes, then you have to be prepared when that student is going to take college classes at a 15 or 16-year-old, that student is then going to be a college student. We look at them as a college student. The laws protect them as a college student. So, for example, if you would call me and say, Charlie's not doing very well, can you tell me exactly what his grade is? And I don't have a couple of these forms we're going to talk about in a second, I won't be able to have a conversation with you. Unless Charlie's there with you, and Charlie says it's okay for me to have a conversation with you, because they're a college student. You also have to remember too, and I had a conversation with a mom the other day, she was so excited about her student taking these classes. And I was so excited for the student too. He was doing really well. He was so pumped about taking courses. And then a couple things happened, and things started to go bad. And she said to me, well, he's only 15. Like, he's only 15. You can't have it both ways. Does that kind of make sense? You can't say my son or daughter is mature enough to take a class at college and then turn around and tell the advisor when they're having problems, well, they're only 15, you've got to cut them some slack, or the instructor needs to understand that, or something. That's not the way it works. So when you commit yourself to this, you have to commit yourself to the fact that your student is now a responsible adult who needs to be a college student and yes, a high school student at the same time. So you're going back and forth, which I know is confusing. But when they're a college student, they have to present themselves as a high school student. They need to be able to communicate with their instructor, which through email, phone call. They need to be able to advocate for themselves if things aren't going well in the class. So those are the type of things that I think sometimes that's like the biggest college difference I think of when I think between high school and college. And I'm not trying to, please don't think that I'm trying to scare you out of this program. I said we have 1,000 kids that are doing fantastic and are learning so much, and it's such a neat program. But you have to remember the other part of it too. So you have to be prepared to, hopefully you have a student that tells you everything. Our class is really going well. They should be able to look on their portal and be able to tell you exactly what grades they're getting. It should be a really open communication. But if not, you can't call and say, well, we're only 15, maybe they, kind of late then at that point. We'll talk about the FERPA. So say you want to be able to call me or my associate and you want to say, how is Charlie doing in a class? If you have a FERPA release form, and we have it on record at the college, then I can have a conversation with you about your son or daughter and their grades without your son or daughter being there. But the form has to be, the FERPA form is the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act. The student has to initiate that. So whatever college you're going to go to, say for example for us, there's a form online, they can fill it out, but they have to bring it into the registrar's office. The student has to bring it into the registrar's office with identification. They have to be the ones that hand it over to the registrar and say, I want my mom and dad or whoever they have on the form to be able to get my information if they call in. They have to initiate it. If you walk in as a parent and you hand our registrar that paper and you say, here it is, they will not accept it. It has to come from the student. So if you want to talk to me on the phone about your student and they're with you, wonderful. If you want to come on campus and you want to have a conversation, wonderful. But if you try to call a college without either a FERPA release or your student there, they're not going to let you do that because we could lose our jobs for that, and we're not protecting the rights of the student. If your student has accommodations in high school, and if they think they're going to take a college class and they want to take a college class, and they apply at the college that they're interested in, talk to the people, the CCP advisors, and say, hey, my son or daughter has accommodations. What do I do at the college level? It's usually, what we usually need is paperwork, whatever paperwork the student has at the high school. We'll take that paperwork. We will, we have an accommodations person on our campus. They look at everything over, and then they'll have a meeting with the parents and the students, and they'll say, okay, this is what we can allow you to have at the college level. This is what we maybe allow you to have extra time testing or things like that. But as soon as you think that they're going to go to college, I would check into that right away, just so to make sure that the instructors are ready for it and everybody else is all set for the process. Some of the things to consider. So students are responsible to go back and forth from campus. We don't have buses to pick them up to take them to schools. So you have to make sure that they can get to and from the campus if they're taking classes at the campus. We have a lot of students in our area, if they're from Van Wert or Paulding or Putnam County, a lot of those students will take online classes. So those work out really well. So if you think that your son or daughter really wants to take a class but you can't get them back and forth to school, then online classes are wonderful for that. If you take college classes, you must complete the end of course exams at your high school in areas like English, science, and math to meet your high school requirements. I know I brought that up a few times, but that's really important. You have to make sure you're hitting those high school requirements. That's your main goal. And then the college classes are on top of that. Even if inclement weather occurs and your high school is closed, the college may not be. For example, last week we had fog, and a lot of schools were delayed. And we did get a couple phone calls. Well, what about our classes? You're having But what I would also say too, if it's really foggy like that and that student is not prepared to drive in that type of weather, especially in the winter time when winter gets crappy and the roads are, I've seen we're in Henry County, we have to have a huge amount of schools closed before we'll close our campus. I've been there almost 9 years and I can remember maybe 6 or 7 times we've closed campus. But you also have to, and this is where the maturity level of your student is. If that student doesn't think that they're going to be safe driving, we don't want them on the road. But then it's up to them to get a hold of their instructor. They have their contact information, they have their email, they have their phone, and then you have to reach out and say, I'm really sorry, I just don't feel safe driving. What do I need to do to make up this work today? Okay, so that's really important that you do that. You can't call the college and say, Ann, can you let my instructor know that I'm not coming today because the roads are bad? And chances are, if the roads are that bad, you may get an email or a phone call from an instructor saying, I'm not coming in either. But just know that just because you're closed doesn't mean we are. I wouldn't mind being closed. Athletic eligibility. So you need to work with your high school and counselor to understand the requirements of the Ohio High School Athletic Association to make sure that you, if you're taking a college class, if something happens, your courses aren't going well for some reason, you need to make sure that you're eligible still for the sports that you're in. You can't take a CCP course in the summertime to bring your student up to compliance in the fall. So keep that in mind too. So you can't pop them into a summer course thinking, oh, we'll get an A and then they'll be eligible to play for a fall. So your school counselor, we send out midterm grades. In fact, they're going out next week. So we send out midterm grades to all our counselors that we work with, all our schools that we work with, and they will usually look forward to getting to those because they need to know for athletic eligibility where the students stand. Available resources while your student is taking college courses. Your high school counselor is the first one. Bethany, Shannon, they're going to be your first people, and because I'm going to be talking to them all the time too. Probably more than she wants me to talk to her, but I will be talking to her all the time, making sure that everything's in line, making sure you have that conversation with her about what classes you're interested in. For our school, you have to sign off, they have to sign off on the registration form, and the student does too. They will email it to me, I will register the student for the class. So that's why high school counselor first, making sure you're getting those high school requirements in. Your CCP advisor at the college. Okay, so all the CCP advisors at the different colleges, they're going to be your next resource. And then every college that you apply to and go to, you can use all of their resources. So everything that you get that a traditional student would get, tutoring, you can use the library. You can use their athletic facilities. The same support that a traditional student gets at a college, the College Prep Plus student is getting that also. Tutoring is huge. You should be able to use e-tutoring and go online, submit some of your papers, making sure they're all okay, making sure everything looks good, see if there's anything that can be revised. You can come on campus and do tutoring too, if you're close enough to campus to do that. So all those things are available to you. So how do you get started? We'll just review a little bit. Complete that letter of intent with high school. It has to be in by April 1st with Swanton. You're then going to apply to any college that you're interested in. Okay? You have to make sure that you're hitting the deadlines for the colleges too. So your high school has deadlines for you to get information in. Your college also has deadlines. For example, if you're taking a class with us for next fall, we'd like to have you apply by April 15th. That's kind of a priority deadline. We'll take them later, but we'd like to kind of get that ball rolling. Then you're going to meet your counselor to make sure that that class that you're going to take is going to fit into your schedule. You're going to make sure that you're setting all your goals for your graduation. You get your athletic requirements. You get your credits in for your athletic eligibility. And then you're going to meet with us. And the college advisors will help you with the registration. They'll help you with all the questions about how this process is going to work. And then that's our information. Do you want me to ask the questions, or do you want to?
Any questions for Ann?
Sure. My kid is interested in spring this spring. Is that would be by November 1st, or is that November 1st?
If your student wanted to take classes for this spring, they would have had to do the letter of intent last year. Yep. So this meeting is all about. I'm sorry. I'm supposed to use my microphone. I'm supposed to yell. Can you hear me? You better. Yeah. So yeah. So it's still. So you're looking at next summer.
This coming spring, but, I just was clarifying.
Yes,
It's a little
yeah.
too-
It's always like a year kind of behind, so the April 1st is for next year. So he would have had to do a letter of intent last April of 2023 to be able to take class for the spring. Correct? Am I?
Yep.
That's right?
Yep, absolutely.
Sometimes schools. do things. Yep.
Can you apply to multiple colleges?
Yes, yes, like I said, we have some students that are going to Owens right now. We have a couple that are going to UT, plus taking classes with us. So yes, that happens quite frequently. It can get a little tricky sometimes. It's a little bit more work on the students' part because they have to keep everybody separate with everybody's deadlines, but it's workable. People do it quite often. Did I scare anybody? Because I really didn't want, Matt's probably thinking, Ann, what are you saying? I mean, we're not trying to scare you. I mean, this is a state presentation. This is information given to us from the state to present to you. It is a wonderful program. I've seen students go from coming into my office for the first time with their parents and not be able to even have a conversation with me. They can barely look me in the eye. 2 semesters later, they're bopping in by themselves, and they're like, hey, Mrs. Brother, I want to take, and they're just, it's amazing what this program can do. It's amazing what a head up, a foot up it will do for a person. You just have to remember, there are going to be consequences along the line if things don't go well.
So if he wanted to sign up from the fall, we have to have it done by April or?
You have to have a letter of intent in with the high school by April
Okay.
1st, yep.
Okay,
And then you start applying at your colleges.
okay, gotcha.
Yep. And like I said, if you think, I think we're gonna do it, or we're still not really sure, go through the process, get that letter of intent.
Right.
They need that letter of intent for budgeting purposes, so they can get an idea of how many students they're budgeting for the school year. So get that information into them. Like I said, you can apply, you can test, you can take the active placement test at the schools. You go through the whole process. I've had people registered for classes before, and then they maybe get cold feet in August and think, I don't know, or maybe they picked up another sport and they just don't think they're gonna have time.
Right.
And some students will take, I've had some students too that will take a class maybe in the fall, because they're not involved in activities in the fall. And then maybe in springtime, they're really heavy, like with musicals and band and plays and all those different type of things. So they don't take a class in the springtime.
So he, like, if he did fall, he doesn't necessarily have to
Exactly.
do
But you
spring.
have to,
Right.
but that's
So,
something.
like, go and do summer.
Yep.
Or, okay.
And summer, let's talk about summer classes real quick, because I talked about to somebody else about summer courses. Summer courses, the only thing you have to think about is when you're gonna take a summer course that, like with us, a regular semester class is 16 weeks. That's a whole class.
It's short.
It's 8 weeks.
Yeah.
So 16 weeks of material shrunk down to 8 weeks in a summer course. So you just have to remember that it's gonna go quicker, and the information's gonna be a lot. And if you think you're gonna sign up for a class and then take maybe a class on campus, and then you think, okay, I'm gonna do that, but we're gonna do 2 weeks of vacation in the summertime, and we can't attend the class, or I'm gonna be someplace where I don't have Wi-Fi connection, then I wouldn't suggest taking a class for the summertime. So, or sometimes the students will, since COVID's been done now, they'll pump up on, they'll work a lot more. So they're taking, part-time job has now become almost a full-time because they can.
Right.
So we just say, think about it a little bit. We have a lot of students that take classes for summertime. You just have to be aware, and then, make sure you have what,
Trying to explain those,
Yep.
those are cram classes, they're a lot harder.
Yeah, you might have to take your, computer with you and do your homework while you're on vacation.
Before, just one second. Ann doesn't want to scare you, but I'm going to scare you. And then I'm going to let you, because I see a lot of people peeling off, and I want to make sure everybody knows this. This is an incredible program. CCP is incredible. But I'm going to scare you, and I'm going to tell you, if you're cutting your kids steak at dinner, they should not be doing CCP. If you can't, and in all seriousness, if your student can't walk up and talk to a college professor face to face, don't do it. This is college, and we have seen the benefits, but I have also seen crash and burn. And they have too, I'm saying. This is incredible. Kids can get an associate's degree by the time they graduate high school. 120 hours, and that includes high school. Please be aware. No, you guys know your kids more than anybody else. And if you think, Johnny doesn't talk to anyone ever and he stays in his class, he's really smart, but he has zero social skills, he won't talk to anyone, I'm telling you, it's college. And it's tough. We have seen our best students, some of our greatest students, struggle mightily because the expectations are there. A college professor, you know, mom and dad can't go to the school board to scream at the Owens, you know, or the Northwest State School Board because Susie got a B. It's just not going to happen. And I want to make sure everybody knows that because there are ramifications. And again, I'm not dissuading anybody from CCP. I don't know how many kids have CCP now. We have tons of kids taking CCP.
Growing every year.
But if you're a seventh grader, yeah, they're going to be great. Just weigh that. Maybe just take one class. One in the spring. One in the fall. Maybe one in the summer. But do not load them down with 30 hours worth of college credit as an eighth grader. That's not going to work. Okay? So please make sure you know your kids better than we do. I've had kids in her office bawling and crying because they're getting a D- and they're afraid to call their professor, and you know, parents yelling at Bethany about, why didn't you tell me my student was failing? She has 0. So your kids are growing up real fast, like when taking these college classes. They are growing up real fast. So understand that. It's between your student and the college. And if you sign a FERPA waiver, even then, college professors can say, listen, I'll talk to you, but the student's taking the class. I'm not at your beck and call 24/7, like sometimes we have at high school. So please know that. Please know that ease into it, and then by their junior, senior year, man, we have students that take all CCP. And they're thriving. But we have kids that struggle too. So make sure you know that, because you know your kids better than anybody in here. Okay?
Add something to that too.
Yep, and then the April 1st deadline is the other thing I want to talk about. If it's April 2nd and you want to do it, don't even come. Because we have kind of gotten ourselves into a mix a lot of times. So April 1st, so we got what, 6 months? 7 months? So 7 months, think about that. And if you're even on the border, just do it. Just sign an intent. It doesn't mean you have to take a class, but at least you've done that. Because come April 2nd, we can't do anything and we won't do anything. Okay, so make sure that April 2nd deadline, you're on that, so at least you have a chance for the summer and fall and spring.
Speaking about grading our classes real quick, and calling people and telling them that you're upset that the student's not getting a good grade. The student has to be the person who, like if a student gets a hold of me and says, I'm not understanding my class, I'm not understanding what's going on in my class, then I will say, the first thing I want to say to them is, have you reached out to your teacher to tell them that you're having issues? And if the parent then says, well, no, they haven't because they don't know, they're not comfortable doing that. They're too shy to do that. That's going to be an issue too, because I can't go to an instructor and say, so-and-so's having trouble with their class. It has to come from the student. I don't teach the class, I don't have the assignments for the class, so it all has to go through the instructor for those kind of questions. So it's just a point, I will help them, I'll make sure that they have the contact information for the instructor, but it has to go through that, it can't go through me. Okay? Okay.
Is there a list of courses that are offered on Swanton campus?
So currently, our Accounting 1 and our Accounting 2 courses here at the high school are offered through Owens Community College. That's for juniors and seniors. And then new this year, Jeff Doychek is credentialed through Northwest State. He is teaching Comp 1 this year since it's kind of his pilot year. And then we're looking at possibly adding Comp 2 next year as well. So currently, those 3 courses are what we offer in-house on campus here.
You kind of continue to touch base on the high school level, and we're at the middle school level.
Okay.
And we do have the intent to start the summer of 2024.
Okay.
I know it's aggressive, but you talked about SAT and ACT. So how do we test in at our grade level?
You're going to take the AccuPlacer test.
We are going to take
Yes.
that. Okay.
And the AccuPlacer test, I don't know if we had it here last year. Some schools will offer it, have our college come and actually proctor the test here.
Okay.
And sometimes the schools will have the students come to the campus to take the AccuPlacer test.
Okay, and we'll get that information after we submit the form. I mean, we'll stay in the loop, correct? Okay.
Will you let them know?
Yep.
Okay,
When you apply and go through that process, Northwest State will send you communications as well on what the next steps are. But
Okay.
you can reach out to me and I'll help guide you along the way. Yep.
Thank you.
It's nice that they're going to actually have something here. It's easier to come here to test. But when we test 3 days a week over on campus, it's like an hour and a half, 2 hour test. It's reading, writing, and math. And then your scores are immediate. So if we're there on campus, the only issue right now is that Maddie and I are going to be on the road constantly from during the day and at night. So we have our test proctor will give you contact information, and then it's up to the student. This is another kind of your first step of communicating. The student has to get a hold of us then and say, how did I do on my test? What did I qualify for? And then you can test and retest once every academic year. So say he tests in April, and he maybe didn't get the writing score that he needed to take Comp 1. So we want him to retest. He can retest once, and that's going to cover summer, fall, and spring. If he still doesn't get it, then we'll talk to him about the classes that he could qualify for. And then if they want to test again, their 8th grade year, then they can test and retest the 8th grade year. Does that make
And
sense?
that's what you spoke about in the very beginning of your program.
Mhm. Yep.
All right, if you have any other questions, I'll hang out up here for a little bit. Ann is here, and then the rest of our CCP partner schools are also out in the atrium. Feel free to stop out and talk to any of them. Make sure you got your paperwork, and please make sure you signed in on one of the Chromebooks before you leave. Thank you again. You're the bestest, Ann. Okay, all right, let me see if I...
I just have one more question. So, if she's thinking that there is a possibility that she might attend, yes, might attend college out of state, these don't transfer out of state, correct?
They can.